Hey guys, how you doing today? So our page 22 in our book is pretty much about dotted rhythms. And we're going to do some music theory, use Cami and draw on it and have a good time with that. So a dot is an important tool in music. It's a rhythm cue. And a dot tells us to add time to the length of the note that came before. So in other words, a dot adds half the value to the note that it follows. So if a note is worth one beat, like this one beat, then you have another note, looks just like it, but look, half and a half is one, but we're going to add half to it. So we'll take this half, a little longer than that, maybe a little shorter. Whoop, now it's too short. And we add it to this, and what do we have? We have 1.5, or maybe it should be like this.
Do you remember how we had half, 1, and 1.5? Well, it's the same thing with our notes. First, in the rhythm we have to master is playing a dotted quarter note, followed by the 8th note. Oh. But that isn't music. I want to hear what it sounds like with instruments and band and notes. Yeah, I think we need to hear this music. So we've learned about the dotted quarter note, followed by the 8th. But why not the 8th, followed by the dotted quarter note? Da-da, da-da. Let's see what that sounds like.
Hey, wait a minute. Do you notice measure 2 is written differently than measure 3 and 4, but it sounds just the same? How cool. 2 ways to write the same rhythm. You guessed it. I want to hear this rhythm followed by this. In music. Da-da. Let's hear the turnaround. Okay, in review, we've learned a lot about the dotted rhythms on page 22. We've started with just the dotted quarter and the 8th note. And we learned that combinations of rhythms can happen in any order. It can be 8th, quarter, dot, da, or it can be quarter, dotted quarter, 8th, da, da. We learned that the dotted quarter note is 1.5 beats, and we learned that the 8th note is a half a beat. Don't confuse an 8th note's name with how many beats it gets. They're different animals because a quarter is 1. Therefore, an 8th, which is half of 1, is a half. That's pretty cool stuff, huh? Yeah, cool. You know, we already should know this, right? The dotted half is the first thing we learn in music. All beginners start with a dotted half note and it gets 3 beats. And it's usually followed by the quarter note, right? Or the quarter note followed by the dotted half. Just like we learned with the 8th and the dotted quarter. How many beats do these two animals get? 3 and 1. You should already know that too. Yay! Woo, we're getting there. Here's the big thing I want you to get from page 21. It's going to be on your test. It's going to be on your final. You got to know it the rest of your musical lives because it's just a very important thing in music. A dot adds half of the value to the note it follows. So 1 note plus half of what that note is equals 1.5. Another way to think about that is any note can be followed by a dot or even dots, which is pretty cool. So here's an example of that. You've got a double dotted whole note. Whole is 4. The first dot's half of the note it follows. But did you know a dot is a note? It's a rhythm, right? It's a cue. It's a rhythm cue. So therefore, the second dot gets half of the dot it follows. The dot it follows is 2, so it gets 1. So now you got 4 plus 2 plus 1 is 7. Double dotted whole note, 7 beats. What else we got here? We have learned about all these rhythms: dotted whole, dotted half note, dotted quarter. Yes, you can have a dotted eighth note. 3/4 of a beat, because the eighth note's half a beat. Half of a half is a quarter. Guess what? You could also have a dotted 16th note, or a dotted 32nd note, even a dotted 64th note. Whew. Crazy. So the basics are this. We see this a lot. Dotted whole note, 6 beats. We see this one a lot. Dotted half note, 3 beats. We see this one a lot. Dotted quarter note. That's the one we just learned. 1.5 beats. Remember, you tap your foot twice. Ba-da. And the new one you're going to learn next will be the dotted eighth note. All right. You got the dot down? Can you play it? Can you make it musical? Because it's all about making music happen, right? All right, y'all. Thank you very much for paying attention to your lesson.